Hey, everybody. Hey, Andy. Can't hear you. You muted still, I think.
There we go.
Okay. Sorry. Sorry. How are you, Andy? Thanks for joining us. I think we've got a full house here, so if you're ready, we will get underway.
Okay.
All right. Well, we appreciate you joining. Andy Levinson, Senior Vice President of Tournament Administration at the PGA Tour. A little bit of an unfortunate circumstance, but I'm sure that we'll have a number of questions from the media here upcoming. But if you have anything to add to the statement that was received by us just 30 or 40 minutes ago, please go ahead and add, and then we'll just jump right into questions, as I'm sure we'll have some.
No, the statement, I think, said exactly what the situation was. It's a very unfortunate situation, obviously. The protocol that we have had in place for the last 50 events is being followed to the letter, and unfortunately, we are in the situation where we are this evening. Happy to answer questions.
Yeah, if you have questions, anyone in the media, please just type your name in, and we'll call on you in the chat there. And we'll start with Steve Dimiglio from USA Today. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, what is the status on his playing partners for tomorrow? The players that he played with today, what is their status going into tomorrow?
So anytime we have a player that has become positive, we'll conduct contact tracing to establish whether or not an individual meets the definition of close contact, which is generally inside of 6 feet for 15 minutes or more. And if that individual is determined to be a close contact, then they would enter our contact tracing protocol. But our contact tracing protocol does allow players to continue to participate so long as they are following our testing protocol and facility restrictions.
I'm just to be sure, would Cantley and Scheffler, who played with him today, and Morikawa, who played with him this morning, will they have to test tomorrow?
So they're being interviewed by our contact tracing team this evening, and we will make a determination as to whether or not they meet that definition of close contact. And if they do, then they'll take a test in the morning.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next question, we'll go to Bob Harrig from ESPN. Go ahead, Bob.
Great, thanks, Andy. Can you say if John has been vaccinated, and if he had been, would he not then have been required to test every day?
I can't speak to John's vaccination status. That's an individual situation, but he was still part of our testing program. And he was required under our contact tracing protocol to test as a result of that.
So is it then fair to say that anyone who, had they been vaccinated, still would have had to test every day like he did?
Not necessarily. If someone had been fully vaccinated, and fully vaccinated under our protocol and is defined by the CDC, is 14 days past the full cycle of a vaccination. They do not have to test as a result of being a close contact.
Okay. If I could just ask one more, thank you. is there any consideration given to allowing him to play simply because we're outdoors, the spacing, he wasn't being allowed to go indoors? I take it based on your earlier answer that the answer is no, but I just wonder if you could address that part.
No, the CDC's protocol regarding people who are confirmed positive for COVID-19 is clear, and that is 10 days of isolation, unless someone is asymptomatic and is able to produce 2 negative tests, a minimum of 24 hours apart. Unfortunately, the timing would not allow John to continue to participate.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Next question will go to Rex Hoggard from Golf Channel. Go ahead, Rex.
Thank you, Andy. Will he have the option of taking, I guess, a second test would be the thing. I know that his first sample was retested, but after he left here, could he take another test? And if it comes back negative, are there any ways he can move forward?
Unfortunately, not to participate tomorrow. So the CDC's protocol regarding asymptomatic positives is that if they can get 2 negative PCR test results spaced a minimum of 24 hours apart, then they can come out of isolation early. But those tests do need to be a minimum of 24 hours apart. And we have followed those guidelines since the beginning.
And to ask kind of a shopkeeping question, why was he informed right off the green? I mean, was there another way of doing this maybe?
So he was informed by our medical advisor. It's an unfortunate situation and difficult to find an ideal opportunity to notify him. But our medical advisor notified him before he went into scoring, and that was how it was conducted.
Thanks, Andy.
Okay, next we'll go to Doug Ferguson, Associated Press. Go ahead, Doug.
Andy, sorry, 2 of my questions have already been asked, but I just wanted to double back on your protocols. If someone has been 14 days removed from past the cycle of their full vaccination, second shot, whatever, are they required to go through contact tracing testing?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Unless they develop symptoms. I should reiterate that.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Andy.
Okay, next we'll go to Bill Rubinowitz with the Columbus Dispatch. Go ahead, Bill.
Yes, this might have been kind of asked a couple questions ago, but the timing of telling him, allowing him to finish his round. When did you guys know that he had tested positive, and was there consideration to telling him in the middle of his round instead of waiting until the end?
We received the initial positive result at 4:20 p.m. Our medical advisor ordered a rerun of that test, of that original sample, and we were notified of that. I believe the exact time was 6:03 p.m. He was in the middle of the 18th fairway. I think he had already hit his second shot, and so our medical advisor notified him as soon as he finished.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Next we'll go to Dave Shedlowski, Golf Digest. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, housekeeping question, Andy. Who was the medical director for the tour that informed him, or?
His name is Dr. Tom Hospel, H-O-S.
Okay, that's what I thought. So just confirming, and then who was the other person that went out there to inform John? There were 2 people.
I don't know who else was standing next to him.
Okay.
Not sure.
Okay, thank you.
Next we'll go to Alex Miceli. Alex, go ahead.
Thank you. Andy, a couple questions. One, you said that you indicated how it happened. We saw how John was informed of the positive test. In your release, you indicate that there had been 4 positive tests before in competition. How did you notify the other 3?
They were notified by PGA Tour rules officials. Whether this was in competition meant it occurred during, say, after the competition began Thursday morning through Sunday. There has not been a situation, to my knowledge or to my recollection, that we have had a situation where we actually found a result while somebody was on the golf course. This is the first of those situations. In other situations, those individuals had become symptomatic and notified us, when they woke up, and we tested them and had a result before they teed up.
Okay, and then secondly, do you have an idea what the percentage of PGA Tour players have been vaccinated?
We do. We've been tracking full vaccinations, so not partial vaccinations. And on the PGA Tour, I can tell you that the fully vaccinated population is north of 50%.
Okay, and then in the release indicates that John had been in close contact with someone that required contact tracing. Can you tell us, if not who, what the relationship was to John?
I cannot. That's something that John will have to speak to. I won't speak to somebody else's situation.
Okay, and then lastly, there's, if I remember correctly, there's some money involved for John, one way or the other. Obviously not the purse, but I think the tour has some kind of fund that they will give John some money because he's had to withdraw during the event. Is that correct?
There is a stipend program for players to assist them with lost earnings and potential costs of isolation and so forth.
Okay, thank you, Andy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Next question will go to Henny Quirk with Sky. Go ahead, Henny.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to have a question on false positives, and if it was, I know you said that you retested the initial sample given, but was there any consideration to do another sample from John for another test to confirm that initial positive?
Right. So as I mentioned earlier, there is the possibility of somebody being asymptomatic and testing positive, and even a very, very, very small chance of false positives. And the CDC protocol for that, once somebody has a positive PCR test result, is to test them again. And if that individual can get 2 negative test results spaced 24 hours apart, then they can come out of isolation, whether that's a false positive or a very, very low level positive that didn't materialize into anything. Unfortunately, in this case, there isn't time to establish that. What we do know is that we had an individual who had close contact. He tested positive. We reran the sample and came up with a positive result.
Follow-up question is, given obviously John's position within the tournament, having a 6-shot lead and wanting to follow CDC guidelines as well as protect the integrity of the competition, would there be any consideration to perhaps changing some of those guidelines moving forwards? I don't know if it's even a possibility to have John play in a 1 ball until that 24 hours had passed to the 4 p.m. deadline on a Sunday, if that might be a consideration in the future.
We have followed our medical advisors' recommendations on this, and that is not something that any medical advisor that we've worked with has suggested, that we would allow someone who is actively infected to participate in our competition, where we know that, and it wouldn't be in line with the CDC's protocols as well. So I don't see us changing that particular protocol.
Thank you, Andy.
Okay, just remind you, if you have a question, please type it in the chat. I can't see who's raising their hand, so next question, we'll go to Doug Ferguson with a follow-up. Go ahead, Doug.
Andy, there was a couple guys, well, Cantley and Scheffler both, who said they've already had COVID. Does that preclude them from any type of protocols following them in terms of testing their interviews they have tonight?
Prior infection does not preclude someone necessarily from being required to test as a result of being a close contact. We do have a policy regarding someone who is tested positive. They're not required to test for a period of 90 days. but that has to do with the fact that the PCR test will continue very likely to show them as positive for a number of weeks, if not months,
Right.
in picking up dead remnant virus. But if they're beyond the 3 months, then that in and of itself would not preclude them from being tested.
Okay, and do you happen to know how many tests John had this week? I don't know when he got here. I saw Wednesday. I don't know if he got here Monday, Tuesday, whatever. Do you have a record of that by chance?
He is tested every day this week.
But you don't know starting when?
Monday all the way through.
So he got here Monday. Okay. Thanks, Andy.
All right, we still have a few questions in the queue, so we'll go to Todd Lewis with Golf Channel. Go ahead, Todd.
Hi, Andy. A couple of questions. According to the statement, it says the tour notified John Rahm that he would have to be tested because of contact tracing, being around somebody with COVID. Did John notify you guys? Is that how you found out?
We actually found out through our own testing program.
So you found out that John Rahm had been with or near someone else through tests?
Through someone else who had tested through our program.
Oh, someone else who had tested through your program. Okay. And secondly, getting back to the decision to notify John Greenside, the reasoning behind that, did that have anything to do with keeping John away from fans and having interaction?
I can't say to the exact reason for that exact point where the doctor notified him. I think the doctor notified him in a manner that he felt appropriate prior to going into scoring.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Andy.
Okay, next we'll go to Steve Dimiglio, USA Today. Go ahead, Steve.
Andy, I know I asked you about Morikawa, Scheffler, and others. How many people are in contract tracing right now?
Well, again, Steve, we're going through that process now for anybody who may have been a close contact with John. I can tell you that John, as a part of his contact tracing protocol, has been extremely mindful about his social distancing and so forth when he can. We know that being outdoors is extremely low risk activity. And John has, again, been extremely cooperative and compliant with our contact tracing protocol throughout the week. So we're going through that contact tracing related to John. But as for anybody else, we have not had anyone else this week in our contact tracing protocol.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, people, we're running out of time. We have time for just one more question. Go ahead, Rob Oller, Columbus Dispatch.
Andy, I know you can't require players to be vaccinated, but what is your education process for them, and how strongly do you urge them to be vaccinated?
So we have strongly encouraged our players, our caddies, our staff, and anyone involved with our competition to be vaccinated. And we have presented educational materials and resources to educate them on that, completely understanding that it is an individual choice. We just want to make sure that people have the proper facts, the unadulterated facts related to that. We have also been out quite a bit at tour events, having one-on-one conversations with people who have questions about the vaccine and are hesitant. And our medical advisor has been out every week for the last 9 or 10 weeks or so, doing just that, having one-on-one conversations, and that's, I think, been extremely helpful. So we have strongly encouraged, but not mandated.
Are you happy with, you said north of 50, which that leaves a lot of ground. Are you happy with the numbers that have been vaccinated?
We are. Of course, we'd like to see the number higher, but, full vaccination is 2 full weeks past the completion of a cycle. So let's look at the Moderna vaccine, for example. That's a 6-week process. And you're looking at a population of a lot of young people who may not have even necessarily been eligible in their hometowns until mid-April. So, we're really starting to see that percentage of people uploading their full vaccination record, that's really starting to increase significantly over the last 2 weeks, and I expect it to continue.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Everybody understood. Thank you for your time, Andy. Sorry if we didn't get to ask your questions. Anybody that's still on there that's hanging, but Andy, we appreciate your time. Thanks for making the effort to get on with us.
Thank you all.
Got it.